everyone. Welcome to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. You are listening to the new streamingnetwork.com. We are home of Going Bold and Going Solo, and we want to thank you so much for joining us here today. This show is called BizBuzz, Igniting Success, and we are just so happy to be able to share that with you. I am Cece Shatz. I am fondly called the doyenne of relationship building, and we've got a terrific guest with us today. We just don't want to wait another minute. We're going to talk about transforming brokenness. And, you know, a lot of us that are going through relationships and transitions and things like that, we share a lot of that in common. And so we've got a great guest today, Roy Sargent. Roy Lewis is going to be joining us. So let's bring him right up. Hello.
Hello, Cece. Glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, it is so great having you. Now, you are going to be, and I want to just make sure everybody knows, you are going to be on our Veterans Corner show at 8 o'clock. It's at 8 p.m. on a Thursday. So
That's
we
correct.
want to make sure that everyone knows that they can always find you, you know, when you come on that show. But I think you're scheduled for a few weeks out, but we can't wait to have you on that show. But you are an intentional leadership speaker. You're a keynote speaker. You're a personal life coach and a master fitness trainer. And so you really kind of, know how to connect with individuals and really inspire them. And so we want to thank you so much for being with us here today. So tell us a little bit about yourself and about, why this topic is important to you.
Well, that's a great question. And I have to kind of drill it down to one simple story. And I was in the 10th grade and I was taking 10th grade history with Mrs. Ross. And this woman would make histories come alive. And I just loved this. I loved her class. I was pulling straight A's for the first time in my life, pulling straight A's. And I came in one morning and Mrs. Ross pulled me to the side and said, Roy, you need to go to honors history. You're doing so well. And I sat back there and I said, thank you, Mrs. Ross. I'm fine the way I am. Just leave me alone. I'm good. And long story short, I'm embarrassed to say I called that woman every name in the book. Every name in the book. I even had a couple of race cards to play and stuff like that. And I just called her all kinds of names. But however, Mrs. Ross did not budge. So I went kicking and screaming in honors history. And I remember taking the exam and I came back. I looked at it. I got a B plus and I quickly ran to her office. And I said, Mrs. Ross, I got a B plus. I got a B plus. And in her Mrs. Ross way, she was an older woman, had her hair in a bun, had a tortoiseshell glasses. And she just looked at me and I never forget the look that she had on her face. She was very calm, cool, collective. And she just said, very good, Roy, and just walked away. And I stood there for a moment. And that's the first time in my life I had an epiphany that I almost cried. I was like 16 or 17. And the reality hit me that this woman, I didn't look like her. I didn't come from the same side of the tracks that she came from. She ignored my complaining and she motivated me. She made me better. And I decided right then and there, I said, that's the type of person I want to be. That's the person I want to have that kind of effect on people's lives. And it carried into my military career. It carried into my professional career. I just love encouraging people. I love sitting with people and having them work out their issues and just getting them to do kind of self-evaluate who they are. Because, today we're in a negative world. Everything is just so negative. And I heard a saying one time that what is it? Comparison is the killer of comparison killer of compassion.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it really is. And because we're living in a world now where people are comparing themselves with whatever and whoever. But my job is, over the years, I've had fun watching people. And I was a drill sergeant in the Army for 9 years. That helped a lot because for instance, we see kids get off the bus and they don't know their elbow from their eyebrow. And they come from different tracks, different parts of the country, and there's 60 individuals. And nowadays it's 60 that makes up a platoon, but it's got to be 30 males and 30 female. And they have 10 weeks to be together as a team, to work together as a team. And I tell you, Cece, it is hilarious in the process because like we put them in groups of 2 and we don't let them pick their own buddy. So we put the black girl with the white girl, put the Asian guy. They're all from different cultures and everything. Right. Cannot stand each other. And then after 2 weeks, I know it clicks in because the white female comes downstairs and her hair is braided like a basketball player. And I'm cracking up laughing. And I play devil's advocate. I said, wait a second, I didn't think you liked her. And the girl's like, oh, no, that's my girl. That's my girl. That's my girl. And having people go through that transformation, because even when they graduate, their chest is all stuck out. And remember, Cece, drill sergeants don't cry. Our eyeballs sweat. They just sweat. Mm-hmm. But seeing them go through that transformation and discovering, I can't tell you how many I've had so many soldiers say, thank you, Sergeant Lewis, for not quitting on me. Thank you so much. I said, no, man, that was in you all along. You were like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. All you had to do is click your heels 3 times. You could went up. Mm-hmm. So that's where, now that I'm fully retired, that's my new mantra now. I mean, it's always been with me. So it's a subject that it's so easy for me to talk about in any environment, corporate, military, just getting people to see who they really are and getting them to lighten up a little bit, getting them to lighten up a little bit about themselves and understand that life is kind of situated in a way where it's almost like fitness. It's like you're building muscle, you're building your muscle memory. And a lot of the things that we think that happen to us that are just catastrophic are really building us up, building our character, building up our resistance to be better. Mm-hmm. And so you can't sit there and just run away from everything and stop looking at all, and I used to tell my children, stop looking at all these professionals and these athletes and these artists and stuff. I said, they're just, all they are is just disciplined learners. That's all they are. Mm-hmm. You can do the same thing. You just have to find out what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Very wise words, because I agree that a lot of times some of the hard things that we go through in life really is a changing moment for us, right? It allows us that transformation and it's really how we deal with those stepping stones that we have to overcome that moves us to the next level. It can be quite challenging when you're going through it. I mean, the muckety muck of it is pretty bad, but when you get to the other side of it and you can look back, you can say to yourself, hey, I learned something about myself, going
Absolutely.
through.
I don't know who told me this one time, but someone told me this. I'm not sure if it was my grandmother or some elderly statesman person that told me that, life is hard. And we complain that life's not fair, but it's not supposed to be fair. It's hard because we try to make it fair, and we're that's where we get so frustrated. I mean, if I could share a quick little story with you,
please,
how that worked. Like I got deployed in 2007 to go to Iraq. I was on a special ops team, and I had spent an entire year in Iraq, and my team was tasked with the assignment to train the Iraqi army. And boy, that was a lot of work. That was a lot of work. However, I got over there and we had something happen in my family. My wife called me on the phone, and I have 2 children. I have a son and a daughter. And my son at the time was maybe 20 years old. And she just informed me that my son had been arrested by the local police.
Oh, dear.
And Cece, let me tell you something. I don't wish that on my worst enemy. And I'm not making it up. When my wife told me that on the phone, my knees literally buckled. I felt like I was going to throw up because I've never been in the back of a police car. I've never had any problem except for maybe a speeding ticket. That's about it. But she called me that my son was in the county jail and he had not 1, not 2, 5 counts against him. He was in a stolen vehicle. He had there was a weapon. There was all this stuff. And I'm sitting there and for like when, when it happened, I'm sitting there, I'm thinking I couldn't sleep for a week. I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm thinking my son's gonna get beat up, he's gonna get, whatever. So let me fast forward. He eventually we bailed him out. He had a long, lengthy court process that took almost a year. However, he did get acquitted, and he got released. And I was in Baghdad at the time, and I called back. We have a satellite phone that allows us to make phone calls back to the States. And I called my house and I asked my wife, I said, how's my son doing? How's our son doing? And she said, well, he won't go outside. He's kind of, she says, I think he's depressed. And I said, and if those of us that are parents, we know when your children are really sorry, they go through something. Yeah. So I asked my wife, I said, put him on the phone. And I said, hey, how's it going, champ? Oh, not so good. I screwed up and I did this. And I know I brought this little blemish on the family and this and that. I said, okay, I get that. I said, but what did I teach you? And he says, well, you taught me that everybody makes mistakes and everybody goes to that. And I said, wait a second. I said, what's the rest of it? He said, well, you said that people make mistakes, but what they do when you make a mistake and you fall, people are waiting to see what you do when you get up. And I said, bingo. Because if you get up, this is where the headlines are written. This is where you build your character. Because if you get up and you take ownership for what you did, which I believe you have, but you get up and rise above this, nobody's going to remember that mistake, really, to be honest with you. They're not going to remember. Right now, they're looking to see if you're going to get up. And if you get up and you push through this stuff, it's going to build your character. And Cece, I can tell you, boy, he got up. And I remember we were in our church one time. He's talking to a bunch of kids at our church that were having some problems. And I said, look at him. I said, now, I told my son, I said, now you're a role model. I said, because you've gone places that I've never been. And I'm asking him, I said, what was jail like? Did they feed you? What is it like? and he's sitting there, but he's and now he joined the regular army. And the funny thing is he came in as enlisted, but he went to the officer side. And I went down, I had the wonderful opportunity to pin his bars on. And I went to his ceremony and he's sitting there and I pinned his bars on. I gave him his first salute. And I whispered in his ears, I said, okay. I said, Army-wise, you outranked me. I said, but genetically, I'll move you downtown to Chinatown, sir. And he goes, no, Dad, you don't have to say that, Dad. You don't. I said, no. When you watch Forrest Gump, he says, Lieutenant Dan through the whole movie, through the entire movie. So I'm giving you respect. You've earned it. And now he's just a sharp young man. And I told him, I crack up laughing because now he's got 3 children of his own. And my oldest grandson is a slickster just like him. Oh, my gosh. And I said, see, that's how God pays you back. He gives you a Xerox copy of yourself. So it's a happy ending. But I told him, I said, you went through all that stuff and you came out better, and I don't want you to go do that, but you came out and you rose above your circumstances.
Yeah, that's amazing. And that's a great example because I think a lot of us go through, really bad things at times, and you're right. It's how you pick yourself up and how you move forward with that. And then you're right. People are watching watching you, how you do it, and you can be an example. So yeah, perfect.
Yeah. I mean, we live in a world today where it's the ones that are the most prettiest, or the one that has the most money, or the one that has the most talent. And I think, especially in America, we get disappointed because when our heroes make mistakes and they become real people, they're not as superhero-like as we thought they were. They're real people. We get disappointed. I had that feeling when Lance Armstrong, the guy who won the Tour de France 8 times, and I was a big Lance Armstrong fan. I had his sneakers, I had his T-shirt, I had everything. and there were allocations about him going out there cheating and this, and I'm like, I defended him to the tooth and nail. But when it came out that he did do that, my heart just sank, But it was a wonderful lesson because people are real. Everybody is working out. I've come to the conclusion, Cece, everybody is dealing with something.
Absolutely.
Everybody's dealing with something. You may have a nice car, you may have nice clothes, you may be on top of the world, but that's just doesn't, but behind the scenes, you may be going through something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's how I approach people now. I take people one at a time.
Right.
And I just tell people, you're more comfortable or more, you're in a safe place just being yourself. Don't be somebody else. Be you.
Right.
And that's okay.
Yeah. It's like with this station, a lot of individuals get worried about being a guest or anything, or doing a show and things like that. And I always say, you know what? People are not necessarily to hear, coming here to see you. They're coming here to hear you. So it doesn't really matter what you look like or if they go wonky, it's just they want to know what you have to say. They want to learn from that. They want to be able to connect with you and maybe they can take away something that can help their lives. So yeah.
And that's what I like about you, Cece, because the thing is that the more transparent you are, the more real you are, people really respond to that. They respond to that just like, and the walls come down. I mean, the walls really come down when because people are really, especially today. I worked in technology, and I don't want to contradict myself, but that's one of the things you cannot automate, and that is relationship. You can't automate relationship, and people are so starved for relationship nowadays. They're sick and tired of the fake stuff. They just want real people. I can't tell you how many times I've gone in the store or gone to the gas station. I just say hello and how's your day going? Or I'm at a restaurant. I say to the waitress, how's your day going? And boy, they went off to a 15-minute conversation. And I let them talk. I let them talk too, because I'm not appeasing them. I'm just really interested when I say, how's your day going? Because I can write a book on the encounters I have with people just going to Walmart, And I said, how's your day going? Oh, you just don't even know the half of it. Oh, well, okay, tell me. Okay.
That old saying, be careful what you ask for, right?
Yeah, that's it. But I'm a people person because I think it's better than TV.
Yeah.
In my personal opinion, because I can sit there and I can, I found my second grade report card. He's a cute little fella, but he requires a lot of attention. Because I want to know, I just find people so fascinating, because people go places that I've never been and done things that I've never done. So I just find it interesting.
Yeah. And everybody's so unique, in their own way and their experiences in life. So it's a joy actually to be able to hear, what they've gone through, but also understand that, some of the life challenges, what they've experienced and how they've gotten through it. It's nice to be able to hear the other side of it. So yeah, I totally get that.
I think because God allows it, God's got a sense of humor, like it's like, oh, I created Cece. She's beautiful, this and that. However, she's got these little things we got to work on, but I can't have 10 of these running around. That's why you are you. And there's only, when God made you, he broke the mold.
That's what my mom used to say.
Yeah, that's right. I can't have
that.
Yeah, I can't have 10 of these running around.
I know. I mean, my mom had 6 kids, right? And so that was one of the things she said about me, is that they broke the mold when they made you. But but I can tell you a lot of stories.
Yeah, and I can only imagine. And I get mad because sometimes when I go to high schools and stuff, I'm so mad because sometimes kids are, and I guess it happened during our generation, individualism is stifled, I grew up in a sports town in New York, and I did play basketball, I did play football and baseball, but I had no aspirations to go get a scholarship. I just played for fun. So I'm sitting there and I'm scoring a touchdown, or I make the guys, like my coach would yell at me all the time, my basketball coach, "What's wrong with you, Lewis? You're gonna be great." I said, "I'm just playing for fun. I just like to play, but." And then I finally I joined the theater department.
Really?
Okay. Yeah, I did, because I just like expression, And I just think that people are just amazing. That's what probably one of the things I loved about the military, because I mean, racism does exist, but in the military, our culture, we have to gel together in the military. And I met so many wonderful people from different walks of life. I wouldn't trade it for one bit. I wouldn't trade it, and even when I was in Iraq, with my personality, the Iraqis love me too. They sit there, they just feed me. Oh, Sergeant Lewis, we we made you some bread, this and that. And I said, okay. I said, it's nice to be loved over here too, because because you find out people are the same. They're all the same. With just a language barrier, but when they got to know me and I got to know them, we had a blast.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Well, I know that I lived abroad. I lived in England for 3 years, and I felt the same way. I felt that, such a connection to the people there. They were so warm and friendly to me, and it was just a wonderful, fruitful experience. So you get to learn a lot. We're going to have to take a quick break. So when we come back, let's talk a little bit more about transformation, because I think it's very important in our lives. So we have Roy Lewis with us. He's an intentional leadership keynote speaker, and he's a personal life coach. So if you guys are looking for some inspiration, definitely can help you out there. He's a master fitness trainer. And of course, we want to make sure you guys know how to get a hold of him. You can email him at sergeantsgtroy, ROY 8 @gmail.com, or speaksergeantroy.com. That's speak, SPEAK, Sergeant SGT, abbreviated, ROY.com. So make sure you reach out to him, check out his website. If you're looking for a keynote speaker, I'm sure you would love to do that. And then, of course, the personal life coach. We'll get in more into that, what you do with your life coaching and your master fitness trainer when we return. So you guys are listening to BizBuzz, Igniting Success. This is our business show. We want to thank you so much for joining us. I am Cece Shatz. We'll be right back.
Awesome.
Well, welcome back to BizBuzz, Igniting Success, right here on newsstreamingnetwork.com. Check out all of our shows there. We hope that you'll enjoy them. And I want to thank those out there in the Roku land, because we want to thank you so much for listening to us. Last year, we closed out at 6 million. We hope we can do the same this year. Would be awesome. But I want to thank you guys for joining us here. And today we have a wonderful gentleman on, and we're talking about transformation of your life. We have Sergeant Roy Lewis with us, and he is an intentional leadership keynote speaker, a personal life coach, and a master fitness trainer. First part of the show was really wonderful. We talked, I think, a lot about connection, about, when we go through the muckety muck of life, sometimes, experiences happen to us, and it's not always just what that experience is, but it's how we deal with that and how we get through it and how we really change our lives and hopefully share and help other people along the way. So let's talk a little bit about your personal life coach. Why did you decide to be a life coach?
Well, I decided to be a life coach. Like I said, it's interwoven into my professional career as a soldier, in the corporate world, and even in my faith. And again, I saw a need. There was just a need there I noticed that people just kind of just looking for something. I got tired of seeing people reaching out for celebrities and looking out for all this different stuff to motivate themselves, and being disappointed every time, or just looking at the wrong things to motivate themselves. And they're just missing a plethora of things that are within themselves so they can pull from. And that's really motivated me over the years, is just to work with people. And then I got to understand how that works, how the human spirit works. Like, for instance, belief. People believe all kinds of things, but when I talk to people and listen to them with the things that they believe, they don't understand how the concept of belief, and it works that if you believe something, it permeates into your words you say, the things that you do, and how your character. So in other words, and I try to explain to them that, things that you're saying don't really line up to how you're living, and they have to coincide together. Like for instance, like as a fitness trainer, I have people that come in and they say they want to lose weight and they want to get in shape. And I say, okay, great, we can do that. I said, why do you want to do this? Well, I want to look better in my jeans, or I want to do this or that kind of thing. And I said, okay, I'm going to say a 4-letter curse word that you're going to get mad about. I don't know. I hope you take it very well. And they said, what's that? WORK, work. It's called work. Because behind anything, like for instance, I'll give you a short story. My son was into basketball. He was in high school, and he was just thought he was all that in a bag of chips with a basketball. And I said, okay, no problem. I have my brother is a college basketball coach in Texas. So I sent him down one summer to go to some of my brother's basketball camps. And my son went there, and I called him. I asked my brother, how's he doing? He says, oh, he kind of like to sleep in, doesn't he? I said, yeah, he does. But, keep working with him. I'm telling you, Cece, I came back. My son, I didn't mean for that to happen, but he quit the basketball team. I said, why did you do that? He says, well, man, you got to do drills, and you got to do this, and you got to run, and you. I said, oh, okay. I said, so those people you see on TV, there's a work ethic behind it, is what you're saying. Yeah, Dad, I just like to play for fun, this and that. And I said, okay, I'm not mad at you, but I didn't want you to go years down the road with a false sense of security, thinking that you're the greatest basketball player in the world, and you're not. However, if you want to do the work, it is there for you. And I say that even with all my clients. If you want to be the best painter, if you want to be the best whatever, it comes to that, down to that 4-letter word. Are you willing to do? I'm thinking about putting that on a t-shirt. Do the dang work. Just do the work. Because I tell, even when I'm talking to high school students, you can be, they say that, yeah, I've heard that before. Yeah, I can be anything I want. Yeah. Well, that's how, logically, that is true. If you're willing, there's a condition. You have to do the work. Now, if you don't want to do the work, then you choose something else. I said, that's the difference between people that have a passion. When you look at people, I remember looking at a person that knows what they want to do, he or she, what they want to do. It's just an incredible thing. They will do what they want to do, regardless of money, time, or resources, because they know they want to do that, and they're willing to do the work. And they should really reap the reward of that. I just get a little annoyed because we're in a world today now. People want the rewards of like somebody like yourself has been doing radio for years and years and years, and you got people walking in. They just want to instantly walk into success.
Yeah,
it's not going to happen.
No, it's not going to happen. Yeah. And you have to know why you want to do something. I think too, I like what you're saying, because I think a lot, because I know, for instance, my son he wanted to play football, right? And because, all the girls like football players and all this when he was in school, that's what he wanted. He wanted that letter. He wanted the jacket. He wanted
you see all the externals, stuff. Right?
And then he finds out what football is, right? And he goes, Mom, I quit football. And I said, why you quit? He goes, because they tackle. And it's like, you got to know why you want to do something.
You got to know why you want to do something. I mean, I have an example. My younger brother, he got a full scholarship to SMU University. However, I can remember when we were kids, he always had a basketball in his hand. And he was like going over to the courts by himself, shooting free throws, and just nobody around, just doing it. Nobody told him to do that. He just did that on his own. So when the discipline came for him, when he played formalized basketball, it was people like that. When they know what they want to do, it's not work. It's just really not work. Like when I joined the military, I sat back here. And I remember I went to basic training, and I got nervous because the drill sergeant's yelling about mopping and sweeping floors. And I'm like, I wasn't nervous about that because I got yelled at about that on a weekly basis. So my grandmother, my mother, and my parents, they instilled that in me, a work ethic. So
Hmm.
I was not afraid when the drill sergeant come in there screaming and yelling, "I want these floors mopped," and I'm like, "Okay, no problem. Spick and span, no problem. I'll have it done." So, but once you decide what you want to do, that's why I tell a lot of people if they're listening to this broadcast, is that you have to find you have a purpose. I believe everybody has a purpose.
Hmm.
I'm not talking about you attaching yourself to somebody else's purpose. I mean your purpose. What is your purpose? I tell a lot of teenagers, what is the thing that's going to make you get out of the bed? What is the one thing that's going to get you so psyched that you'll do it for free? You'll do it for free. You'll do it regardless. And once you find that one thing, you are en route to success.
Yeah. And I will add about my son is that I think my son realized that you can get hurt, doing the football. And that wasn't something he was willing to do, right? And so I will say that today he's a fabulous artist. I mean, he's a wonderful
Yeah.
human being, but that wasn't his passion, right? And so he found
It
out
was
what
his
his passion
passion.
was art and digital art, and he's fabulous. And so it's like finding that purpose in life. I think you're so right, and I think what's nice is that we can experience different walks of life, different things we can share in other people's, listen to their stories and their experiences, and then kind of sit back and choose what's good for us. And I like
Absolutely.
a life coach helps you with that. I mean, I think
Yeah,
that's
and
a
to his
thing.
detriment,
Hmm.
it's not that he chose an easier thing. He
No.
found his niche
Yeah.
and he did the work. And I
Hmm.
always tell people that was his thing. That's why he came into his own. It's
Hmm.
just that football is just like it's a physical thing. It requires a lot of work. I mean, I was on the color guard at a Panthers game up here in Charlotte, and I saw those football players up close. Even a punter, everybody looked huge. I was just like, oh my gosh. And I was
Hmm.
standing there on the field, and my son was with me, and I don't know who the player was. He came out the portal, and all I saw was 99. He took out the sun, and my son and we stood there with our mouths open. It looked like a transformer, a robot. I said,
Hmm.
this is humanly impossible.
Hmm.
But long story short, it's just that these are people that are disciplined learners.
Hmm.
They they're cut out for this. So just like your son, he did art. We have artists in our family. My father-in-law is a bona fide artist,
Hmm.
and it's just that's who he is. That's what
Yeah.
he does. I mean,
Mhm.
he forgot my birthday one year, and he ran upstairs, and I got it over here. He made a caricature of me and put it in a frame, and it's the best birthday gift I've ever had in my life.
Oh,
He
nice,
looks just
nice.
like me. Looks just
Mhm.
like me, and he's so talented.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's the whole thing about being a life coach with people. Is just all right. Let's just get off this hero worship thing. We're stuck on
Mhm,
celebrities. That's
mhm,
really is based on money.
mhm.
It's really want to get. I tell people the music industry. I'm partly a musician too, but all the music is just really based on girl boy bands and stuff, and getting the girls to buy all the records and everything like that. So you know, it is what it is. But
Mhm.
you got to find your niche. You got to find and bravo to your son to be able to recover from football and just go right into it because that's what he was destined to do.
Yeah, yeah, he's actually very good. So I think he realized, hey, I'm gonna get my hands hurt doing this football stuff. Forget it. And we were all so shocked that he didn't want to do it because he was so geared up. He was excited about it. And then he went to practice and stuff, and he goes, "They tackle, you can get hurt. I don't want to do this."
Yeah, I quit the basketball team, but I had that moment where like I said, I came from a sports town, and
Mhm.
I felt like I was like a loser because I wasn't doing the sports thing, but I went into the performing arts.
Yeah.
And I was
Right.
like, hey, and then boy, that was me right there to give a
Mhm.
speech and stand in front of people. I could do this all day standing on my head,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, we all have our own gifts. We all
Yeah.
have our own thing. And so, yeah, it's really finding yours. And I believe a life coach really can help you with that. If you find yourself, in where you need a little bit more inspiration, because we all have it down deep, it's bringing that forward. And a life coach is really good about that. And I can sing the praises for life coach because I am one myself. So I totally get it. So I totally understand. But I do feel like with all the transformation our lives make as we continue to live, sometimes we just need somebody to talk to. We need that person that we can kind of share our life's experiences with and help us get through. So yeah, kudos to you for doing that and helping others along the way. So wonderful. Wonderful.
Well, it's also too letting people know that you have to kind of deprogram yourself, because like if you one of the things in life coaching, I tell people, be aware of your environment around you.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're in a group of people and you're the smartest one, you got to get a new group. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
you gotta if and letting them know that your friends, or what we call our friends, their main job is to encourage you and lift you up. If you got friends that are negative, putting you down, all that kind of stuff, and that can sometimes be family members too. They'll put a little
Mm-hmm.
aspect right there as well. Is that you got to be careful, because you should always be moving forward. And sometimes if you're in a group and you're moving forward, sometimes you will outgrow that group. You just get a new group. You just get a new group. Because we're all in that room. And I told my son that one time. He said, "What room are we in?" I said, "We're in a room for improvement. We're constantly improving."
Wonderful.
When you stop improving, you hanging it up. You scare me.
Yeah.
That's it. Because we have a saying in the military: I'm gonna drive it till the wheels fall off.
Very good. No, I agree with you completely. And I just think we have to, we have the benefit or the pleasure to surround ourselves with the people we want to be, with. And it's not necessarily that we don't want to be with other people, but we do have the pleasure of, deciding who's important in our life, who we want in our life. And so we need to make our choices well. And it doesn't mean that individual will be in your life forever, because you're going to move forward and there might be other individuals in your life that you touch. So you touch those around you and they touch you. So yeah, I totally agree with that completely.
Yeah, it is. And once you kind of get used to that, you'll find out. And then, like I tell a lot of people, once you start finding your place, to kind of go full circle, you have a responsibility to pay it forward. To the next person. And that's one thing. I shared that story with you with my son. We talk about it now like men, and I saw him last month, and I told him, I said, now you have a responsibility to pay it forward, because you're going to run into somebody or some person that's going to say, "Hey, I feel like the lowest thing of the earth. I don't feel confident," or whatever. And you've been there. And you need to share that and pay that forward to the next person. And that's what leaders do. We teach that in intentional leadership, is that leaders make other leaders. Your job is to coach, train, and mentor. That's what you do. Because I just, when I sound going into politics, I can't believe how negative the world's just gotten just so recently. Oh my gosh, I have to turn the TV set off.
I know. I don't watch it. I don't watch it. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I have to go in the bathroom and just motivate myself. I'll talk in the mirror to myself, but how nonetheless, it's a responsibility. I tell people, you're responsible. You're watching negative things. It's like computer programming, garbage in, garbage out.
Right.
You got to be careful. You got to be really careful.
Absolutely. Fill your well first. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we're going to have to close the show because it's gone by very quickly. So are there any last words you'd like to share with our audience?
Well, I want to tell your audience is that they're listening, is that, hey, I know when there were moments when I was in Baghdad. I thank God I came back. We didn't lose anybody on my team. We lost a few soldiers in our brigade, but my team was 11 guys. And we all came back with a new perspective to the United States. And one of the perspectives is that I realize that each day is a gift. Time is like money. You waste it, you can't get it back. Right. There's no way you're going to get it back. However, I'm not saying you got to go out and do great exploits every day, but each day is a gift. And if all you can say is this, I love you to a loved one, or, hey man, your friend, hey, how you doing? What's going on? Use that day. Use that day. Don't waste it. Don't waste it. Move forward. If you're going to fail, all I can say is fail good. I used to tell my children, my son said, I knew you were going to say that. When he would fail, I said, hey, just tell me what was your intent. Because if your intent was this, and then explain to me what were you trying to do and what's your plan to move forward that this doesn't happen again. Think it out. Because sometimes failures are not there to make you feel bad. They're not there to make you look like a bad person. They're life lessons. They're like I said, they're great examples to move forward, to learn. There are opportunities to learn. So I tell that to your listeners, move forward. Don't be afraid. And stop looking at everybody. Stay on your track. Stay on your trajectory. Stay focused. And don't be so hard on yourself. Don't be so hard on yourself.
Good advice. Very good advice. Well, we want to thank you so much. Again, if you want to reach out to Roy, just go to Sergeant SGT Roy, ROY 8 @gmail.com. And then his website is speaksergeantroy.com. That's speak, SPEAK, Sergeant SGT Roy, ROY.com. And make sure you check out the Going Solo veteran show that he's going to be on here in a few weeks. We're excited about having him come on the show with us. I'm not sure what date you guys decided on, but I know it'll be a great show to be able to hear about your stint in the service and all of that. And we want to thank you for your service, because we do appreciate you and all of those that do serve us. So thank you so much.
No, thank you, Cece. You guys were worth it. So thank you.
Well, again, Sergeant Roy is a intentional leadership keynote speaker. He's a personal life coach. He's a master fitness trainer, which we didn't talk too much about that. So we'll have to get into that more maybe another time. But we want to thank you so much for being on the show here today. We are so pleased to have you. You guys, you're listening to BizBuzz, Igniting Success. This is our business show. We hope you enjoyed it. We are on the newsstreamingnetwork.com. Be sure to listen to WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network. That is our internet radio station. We've had that station for, about maybe 14 years now. So we've had it for a long time. So we want to thank all of those that listen there. We do appreciate it. You can get it in your car. It's internet based. So please do. All of those listening on Roku, thank you so much. If you haven't listened to us and you want to, you just find our new app. It's called newsstreamingtv.com, newsstreamingtv.com. You can download the app, find all of our shows, and we want to thank you so much. So thank you again, Sergeant Roy. We appreciate you.
Thank you. I forgot to mention too, I have a book out there called Broken Things. You can find it on Amazon. So if anybody wants
yes. Thank you for sharing that. We should have talked about that a little bit more. So I do appreciate that. But maybe that is our reason to have you come back, and you can
absolutely
the corner. Yeah, we'll talk about that. So yeah, we appreciate you and all that you do, and all you're so inspirational. So we want to thank you.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Thank you, Cece.
All right, everyone, take care, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.